Hey, Greg here, founder of www.wrestling-divas.webs.com, your source for highlighting the most beautiful and deadly entertainers in professional wrestling. I'm very excited to announce my next special guest. She is perhaps best known for her work within the 80s TV land show, Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling, AKA Glow, where she portrayed the character Hollywood. She is also a successful actress and stunt woman, and I am just waiting for her to call in, so bear with me. All right, well, I am very excited to announce that joining me right now is Jeanne Basone, a.k.a. Original Glow Girl, Hollywood. Hi, Jeanne. How are you today?
I am wonderful. How are you today?
Oh, I'm so thankful you're here. I'm such a big fan, so thank you so much.
Oh, no, thank you for having me. I think that's very, very cool. And can I just tell you, my last name sounds like Capone, like it's Basone like Capone, kind of Italian, I guess.
Oh.
That's what my grandma would say. It's okay. No worries.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. I didn't know.
Yeah, you're probably like, what? So now you know. That's what my grandma would say. She goes, it's Basone like Capone. I go, okay, Grandma, whatever.
Well, thank you for that.
You're so welcome.
I have to bring up the Glow documentary, and I haven't seen it, but I've heard it's gotten rave reviews. And I have to ask you, what does it mean to you to not only have the Glow documentary being produced in general to the public and having a red carpet event revolve around it, but to have it produced after so many years of Glow being off the air? Because I'm sure that's a signal to you that Glow certainly does have a cult following still to this day.
It really does, because it's amazing. You'll go somewhere and someone will go, I'll go, you're not old enough. If the person is, 25 and older, they probably know about Glow. So having this documentary come out and explain to the people who are under 25 what the heck it was is very, very cool. It's informative, and it's just, it's actually a thrill to see it out. Only because, you know what, I did all 4 seasons of that show. This is before the internet, and you've seen other shows try to emulate or copy it, but we did 4 seasons. So, I think we were a little ahead of our time with this, with the wrestling, and I'm just very thrilled and happy that it's out to that youngsters and even people who weren't, who may not have been up at 1 a.m. or 9 o'clock in the morning, depending on where you live, can see it. I had a guy on Twitter the other day. He said, I was not a Glow fan, but after I watched this Glow documentary, I am a Glow fan. Thank you so much. And it was really very cool to hear that.
Now, I have to ask you, if you look back at the context of time when Glow was around in the 80s, there weren't many headstrong roles for women back in those days. I mean,
no,
you had...
there wasn't. You had Wonder Woman.
Yeah. That's pretty much it. And I was about to say, in Alien, Sigourney Weaver, she was only the first real action female heroine out there. And then you had Glow, and that was basically it for headstrong roles on TV or film and in general.
Hey, when did Charlie's Angels? Well, Charlie's Angels came out, 70s? Was it late 70s?
Yeah, I think so.
So it was kind of, but you didn't have a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But we didn't have a lot.
So what does it mean to you, and do you think that the context of time had something to do with the success that Glow would become?
Oh, definitely. I mean, it means a lot to me. I can't explain it to you. It's just done a lot. It's opened up, I think, doors. This is what I think Glow did. I think, even putting this out now, I think it's okay And it has been for a while for ladies to say, you know what, I want to wrestle. It's interesting because I just moved to the Midwest or South. I don't know what you call it. I'm in Tennessee. I go back and forth to L.A. But I went down to Memphis, and I worked with a company down in Memphis, doing some live stuff with them. And the girls are very, very young. But it's interesting because these girls who are younger are saying, you know, I liked you, or I wanted to always be a wrestler, you know, when I grew up. And, you know, for me, it was a little opposite. I'll be honest. I was right out of high school, and I was drawing blood in the lab. So I think this opens the doors is what I'm trying to say here, cut to the chase. It just opens the doors that it's okay for ladies to go out and wrestle and want to do that. Like when I was a kid, I didn't dream about being a wrestler. I dreamt about I'd like to be a flight attendant. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. So things have changed, and I just think this is okay. I think this story is really good because there's a touching part in it. You'll see when you do watch it. You know, and it just explains to everybody, and even listening to some of these ladies talk about certain things, I didn't even know that those things were going on, you know, with certain girls. Like this one hurt her knee really bad, or this one was injured because of her shoulder, or the heavy metal sisters. They said we really weren't strong at wrestling, so we had to develop our characters as acting. I'm just giving that an example. Now, one thing that people will say too is, "Oh, Glow, they didn't wrestle. They didn't know how to wrestle." Well, I will be honest and tell you that the first season, we were all trained, myself including, for the pilot. We were trained by Mondo Guerrero. So that man comes from a history of wrestling. You know, they're iconic. And so, yes, we were trained very well. It was later, like your third and fourth season, that was trained by other girls. So it kind of trickled down the line a little bit. But, you know, our show was different. It wasn't just about wrestling. As you probably know, there was a lot of comedy sketches, so that's what made it different. You know, we had more storylines. I call it more like soap opera sort of, but it was cute. It was funny. It was campy. Some things were stupid. I look at stuff and I'm like, what do I have to say? What are the lines? What? You know, some of them were just silly. But you know what? When you're only 21 years old, those things you just do. You just do it, and it's you don't think twice about it. You know what I mean? You're like, oh, it sounds stupid, but hey, I'm going to do it. I've got to do it. So having this come out, and then on TV, because the Logo channel last month had it running, I don't know how many times they ran it on TV. So it was interesting to turn on the TV and then see your face on TV. I mean, we did promote it, and we went to all the film festivals that it aired at. You know, some of them I did them by Skype. I did Tulsa, Oklahoma from my house, which was kind of fun. And then they had me on Skype on the big screen in the theater. So it's amazing what people can do now, you know? Very crazy.
Oh, yeah.
I want you to see it. You have to see it.
I will. When
I think you'll dig it.
I'm a big fan of documentaries and of Glow, so I'll definitely see it sometime soon.
I hope so. Yeah, you'll dig it. I think so.
When you got your call to kind of audition from the show for your agents or whoever gave you this offer, what was your initial reaction to
oh my God.
This type of opportunity?
Yeah. Sure. I was out of high school, working in a medical laboratory, and I had some friends that were working. They were extras in the background of movies and stuff like that, and they're like, hey, Jeannie, why don't you come and check this out? I'm like, okay, I will. So I went, and, you know, I did some background work. Well, this company called Atmosphere Agency in California, in Los Angeles, called me and said, hey, this is around 5:30 at the Hyatt Hotel on Sunset. They didn't tell me it was wrestling, okay? We have a sports show. It's a show for TV, sports. They did not tell me what it was. That's doing a TV show, and would you go down to the interview? And I'm thinking, okay, I can go because it's after work, because my boss was getting mad that I was taking time off to, like, try to be an extra in a movie, you know. And so I'm like, okay, I can go. So I went down, and then there was a lot of women. There was, I don't know, 300 girls in there, maybe more. And David McLean comes up, and he starts explaining about this show. When he said it was about wrestling, I went, whoa, I know every sport. I'm a tomboy. I play with all the boys on my street. I know everything but wrestling, right? And I swear to God, there was a bunch of chicks that got up and they walked away. And you will see me, I say that they got up and they left. They were just like, I am not into that. So I'm curious. I'm scared at the same time, but curious. I went down to a gym where Mondo was training everybody, and I kind of waited a couple of weeks. I still wasn't sure. I'll be honest. I was like, So my reaction was, maybe. But I was so curious about it. I went into the gym. I saw Mondo training the girls, and there was probably about 25 girls in there. And they were doing front rolls, back rolls, you know, learning how to fall. And I immediately, as soon as I saw that, I'm like, that's it? I go, oh, my God. I go, I'm in. So I went up there, and I went Monday. I would train Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, 7 o'clock at night. So I trained 3 hours, 7 to 10 with Mondo. And what was interesting is I noticed that there was less and less girls coming to train now. And what they were doing is they were weeding out who could make it and who couldn't. And then I was one of the ladies that they said, okay, you guys are the ones that are doing the pilot. We did the pilot in Las Vegas in December 5th, actually, 1985. I went to Vegas for a week, did the show, did some sketches, got interviewed, did the live show, which I was scared out of my mind. I'd never been in front of a live audience performing before. And it was quite thrilling at the same time, but still I was a little nervous. And then we took it to syndication in January. It's called NAPI Convention, where it was picked up. And then I quit my job and went to Vegas in April of 1986 and started seasons 1 and 2 there.
I'm sure that you're very pleased with the success that Glow has become. And what's interesting about that is when you did Glow, you were very young. And
oh, yeah.
Of course, now that you're older, I'm sure that you look back and kind of reminisce about what it was and the decisions that you made and how young you were. And I'm sure that you would have approached something differently now that you have more life experience under your belt. So what would you have done differently as far as handling your career, handling Glow, now that
I've always said I wouldn't do anything any different, but then I thought there would have been one thing. I think after season 2 was over, there was a time where the original, I shouldn't call them original, but the first and second season girls weren't coming back to do season 3 and 4. So I took a break, and I went to Japan. Was it Japan? And I did some modeling out there, and I came back, and I wasn't going to come back at all. But, you know, we worked some, and so there was all new girls for the third and fourth seasons besides Mountain Fiji and myself. But what I would have done differently, when I negotiated and said, okay, I want to come in once a month, well, they said, no, you have to come in every week, but let's bring your hours less. You know, you can live in California part-time and then come here to do the show. Well, what I would have done differently, probably got myself, I didn't have an agent. You know what I mean? When you're young and no one's really, and you're just living for the moment, I will say to people, you need to think about what happens after wrestling. You know what I mean? Should I be doing something else? Should I go to school? You know what I mean? Because you can't be you can, but I'm telling you, your body isn't feeling the same. And I'm still wrestling, so I can tell you right now that, you know, when I went down to Memphis and I wrestled down there, I had 4 matches. I'm great for 2, maybe 3. The 4th one, I can tell you I'm tired. In Glow, I could do 4 or 5 matches, and I could do them quick, fast. Nowadays, you're slower. So differently, I would have, possibly maybe had an agent where I was going out on other things, went to school earlier, I went to school later. So those things I would have done differently. Meaning, some people live for the moment and you're only thinking, ooh, I'm doing TV right now. I'm da-da-da-da. I will say one thing, though. I never, ever let it go to my head because just because you're on a TV show, it doesn't mean shit. It doesn't mean anything. That's how I looked at it. I thought, you know what, I was just, lucky to get a call that said, hey, here's a show. Do you want to interview or audition for it? And so I was grateful for that. I never thought about it any different, that I was different than anybody else. I enjoyed what I did. I loved wrestling. I enjoyed it so much that, I always liked the look of surprise on these girls' faces. I would come in, and they would be expecting me to do, say, A. Well, I would give them A, but I would also give them B and C. And just so that's how into it I was. And I love this character Hollywood because they wanted Hollywood and Vine to be these pickpocketing, heel girls, but I started changing her a little more. I wanted her outfit to be cooler. I wanted those corsets and those gloves, and I wanted more rock and roll because that's what I loved. I loved seeing all my friends' bands play, so I would go all the time and support my friends and watch their band. And so I turned Hollywood more into this rock and roll type of character or persona that was more like mine.
Now, you mentioned that at the time you wish you had an agent so you could explore your options more. And something that many people don't realize about Hollywood and entertainment in general until they get involved is that you're going to get rejected left and right, and nothing really works out on your firm.
Never.
So how do you stay grounded when you're pursuing these opportunities that in the end don't necessarily work out?
You know what? I come from a family that's very conservative. I'm not conservative, but my mom and dad are. And you know what? I think it's how you were brought up, how you grew up. I certainly wasn't a brat. There was lots of rules, and I just think that comes from within. So, but I would say the more auditions that you go on, the more and more you go, that's your likelihood that you're going to nail something. Now, Married with Children, I did Married with Children twice. One of them, the only reason, I didn't have to audition in front with, 100 girls is because Married with Children executive producers loved Glow. They loved it. So they had already worked a script in. They knew that they wanted myself. They knew they wanted our farmer's daughter character, and they knew they wanted Big Bad Mama. So we went in, and we didn't know that they wanted us. So we went in and read, and they're like, okay, guys, we'll see you on Monday at 9 a.m. I'm like, oh, my God, we got the part. So, I've always been just gracious and grateful to have anything, and sometimes those things happen, but that's far and few in between. Mostly you got to go there and audition, and there are going to be people way better than you, and that's why I look at it. There's always someone smarter, prettier, than myself. And I think when you go in like that, with being optimistic and or staying positive within yourself, I always think that always works for me. It always has. If I get it, I get it. Cool. But I don't get pissed off or upset. There's always another one. There are so many acting gigs, and there's so much stuff that you'll nail one. You just got to keep going.
Now, they say that once you enter the wrestling industry, you never, ever truly leave it. So even after you hang up your boots, how do you think wrestling will affect the rest of your career and the decisions that you make?
I know. I can't get out of it. That's so true. Oh, my gosh. What's funny is I've never heard anybody say that to me before in an interview, but, oh, my gosh, it's so hard not to, in daily life, have something that comes up that reminds you about wrestling. Now, here in Tennessee, I have another little group called Southern Wrestling Bells. I can't see what it is. I'm training them. I'm teaching them. There's got to be somebody else that has to be, take over Hollywood's spot, and I still have yet to find that girl. I haven't found anybody that gives me that 110 and did what I did. It's, but I'm sure she's out there. So it's in my blood. You are so right. It goes everywhere. It goes everywhere I go, that's for sure.
So, the entertainment industry and the wrestling industry has saved a lot of people's lives and given them a new type of goal to work towards and a new path in life. And it's also destroyed a lot of lives. So where do you think people begin to go wrong and begin to go down that bad path and decision-making wise? Where do people begin to take that wrong turn in this industry and lead towards self-destruction, for lack of a better word?
That's a great question. I think that when a lot of people, so first of all, there's probably different aspects to it. Jake the Snake is a perfect example. This great man, in WWE, I think that a lot of the wrestlers, when they're in pain, when they're landing and falling, when they're doing these gigs so often, and I see that a lot of people are looking for, something for their pain. My back is killing me. Oh, soma sounds good. And that gets them through, what their pain, and that's what I think. I think it's He said it perfectly. I was just at Cauliflower Alley Club last week. He was up there on stage and he was accepting an award, but he got up there and he was in a different place. He said 2 years ago he didn't think that he was going to live anymore. And these guys get hooked, and they'll probably know better than I, because I'm not one that has that kind of addictive, personality. So once, so that's where I think it begins, when possibly you're in pain, you're not happy. That's when you start to take that spiral place down the rabbit hole.
Now, this is one of my favorite questions to ask. If you could sum up your experience as a professional wrestler using just one word, what would that one word be?
Just for everything I've done. Say that again?
Hardest question in the world.
It is. I'm thinking of a word. Gosh. Sums it up. Let me think on that one. I'm thinking. I'm looking for a word that sums up everything that I've done. I mean, because I've had such a great, a great career. I could use the word extravagant. It was just, or maybe whimsical. It was just, you know what I mean? Those are the words. How are those words? That's one, whimsical. I love that. It was just very cool. That's a word. I haven't used that word in a long time.
Well, I'm glad I brought it out of you. That's probably one of the most unique words I've heard.
Yeah.
Well, you are very present on social media. You are up to a lot these days, in and out of wrestling, and you do a lot of appearances, whether it's because of Glow fans or whatnot. So how can people get in contact with you, whether it's to book you or just to say, hey, I'm a Glow fan, I'm such a big fan of yours. How can they do that?
Sure. I've got two websites, first of all. I have Hollywood Productions, and that's not spelled the right way. It's spelled Hollywood, W-O-U-L-D. So Holly, W-O-U-L-D, Productions.com. There's my Facebook page. And then I have Holly M. Wood, There's all, you know what, you just do a search and put Jeanne Basone up, boom, they all come up. Everything's out there. Oh, plus I have to tell you, too, working on a bio. I have been working on this. I've got 8 chapters done, so that I'm working really hard on trying to finish that biography of all 4 seasons of Glow.
Oh, fantastic. And I'm sure you'll be able to keep fans and patrons updated on certain websites about that. And I'll definitely pick up a copy myself because I'm definitely a huge fan of yours. So
You're sweet. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for your time. And I'm just such a big fan of Glow, and it's great to finally speak to one of the former Glow girls. And I wish you the best of luck in everything that you pursue. And I'm sure you know this, but you're definitely an immortal figure in professional wrestling. So always think of that when thinking of everything that you've done. So.
Oh, that's very kind. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I really appreciate it.
Thanks to everyone else for tuning in. Be sure to check out www.wrestling-divas.web.com for more exclusive content, and be sure to follow the site on Twitter, again, at Wrestling Divas with a Z at the end, for all the latest teasers and updates.